Hi there, today we're going to be looking at something different. I'm starting this brand new series of essentially the CCC competition, the Canadian Computing Competition from the University of Waterloo. And I'm going to be solving as many as I can throughout the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Ideally, I want to solve all of them in the next couple of years. So let's have a look at the first one in a series here. So this comes from the 2014 J3. So as you know, the CCC has junior and senior, and this is the third question from the junior. So let's look at it real quick. Player A and B are playing a game. Each player starts with 100 points. Okay. The game uses a standard 6-sided dice and is played in rounds. During one round, each player rolls one die. The player with the lower roll loses the number of points shown on the higher die. If both players roll the same number, no points are lost by either player. So our job is to write a program to determine the final scores. So input specifications, we're going to get two inputs, a variable that holds an int, and this number represents how many rolls occurred in the game. And we're also going to get a 2D array, a multi-D array. In this case, it's a 2D array that holds two arrays of integers. The first array will hold the rolls of player A, and the second will hold the rolls of player B. And the output, a string that essentially says who won, player A or player B, and what the score for player A and player B are, and who the winner is. Alright, so let's have a look at it. So these are our inputs. Number of rolls. So in this particular game, there were 8 rolls. And the result is this is A and this is B. So on the first roll, A got a 2 and B got a 4. So obviously B won. So we subtract 4 from 100 from A. So after the first round, A is at 96, B is at 100. Again, 5, 5, so nothing happens here. Third round, 2 and 5. So this guy loses. So A now, from 96, we subtract 5, so we're at 91 here, and B still at 100. Going forward, it's 1 and 2, so A loses again, we subtract 2, so we're at 89 now. 6 and 6, it's untouched. 6 and 3, this guy wins, so now it's 100 minus 6, so it's at 94, and so on and so forth. And of course, we need to create a program that, regardless of what inputs we put in, it'll always work. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So this is a relatively easy solution here to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and create a function called winner is, and this function will take in two parameters. I'm going to call the first one is actual rolls, and this actually takes in a 2D array of type int, because we're actually taking in the roll result, and we're also taking another parameter here. It's called number of rolls, and this will just be a regular int. Okay, and we're gonna output here a bunch of things. We're gonna output an int, we're gonna output an int, and we're gonna output an int. And you could do this. There's a whole bunch of solutions. I'm not claiming that this is the most efficient solution, but this is my solution, and feel free to comment on a better solution. So we're outputting an int and an int, because here it says player A finished with a score of, so that's an int, and player B finished with a score of, that's an int, and a string that essentially says the name of the player. So let's go ahead and look at this. I'm just so that I don't get a error, I'm gonna go return. What am I returning here? Well, since I'm returning a couple of things, I actually have to return, obviously this is fake, I'm gonna change this later, and string. So we're gonna go whatever. So this returns this so that we don't get an error, but obviously this will change at the end of the function. So what do we actually do here? What's the bulk of the function? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and create a variable called player A score, and this will be of type int, and we're going to give it a value of 100 because that's what player A starts with. And then we're going to go var player B score, and same thing, it's of type int, and this will have a value of 100 as well. I'm also going to create two strings, var winner string, it's of type string, and I'm going to give it an empty value here, var winner player player, and this is of also type string, and you'll see how I use all these variables later. And that's all our variables for now. And the whole bulk of the program really is a for loop inside an if statement inside a for loop. So let's go ahead and write this and I'll explain what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is the bulk of the program, and that essentially finishes half of it, and then I'll show you the other half, which actually outputs the string. So just to make up the string. So let's go ahead and break down what we're doing here. So we're essentially creating a simple for loop that has an index counter called index that goes from 0 to the number of rows. And inside the for loop, we're going through an if statement. We're saying actual rows. Well, what is actual rows? Actual rows is this 2D array. We're saying go look at the first and whatever index is. So 0 represents the first element, which is the first array, and index, whatever index is. So index in here, we're starting with 0. So we're going 0, which is this array, and 1 would be this array. So 0 is here, and 0 of that is this number right here. So this right here in the first iteration will be 2. So if 2 is greater than actual rows 1 is this index, which is 0. So we're comparing 2 with 4. So we're saying if 2 is greater than 4, then go ahead and take player B score and give it a value of whatever player B score is, which is 100 minus the actual rows of 0 index. So whatever this thing is. And we're doing essentially the opposite here for the other player. So we're saying compare these two numbers, and if it's greater, if this thing is greater, then take this number and subtract it from take this number and subtract it from player B, and do the opposite. So we're doing a simple check between the two elements, and whatever is greater, take that number from the other person. That's essentially what this if statement does. And we're looping it over and over and over again. So the second run, we're comparing this guy and this guy. And the third run, we're comparing this guy, and so on and so forth. That's pretty much it. So the second part is, I'm going to type in and I'll explain it. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So the second part essentially is we're comparing player A and player B, and these are obviously integers, player A score and player B score. And essentially I'm saying if player A is greater than player B, then a winner player, which is the string, give it a value of player A, otherwise give it a value of player B, else say no one, it's a tie. And I have this winner string that I'm going to output, says player A finished with a score of, just like it's asking me here. By the way, I modified that. It doesn't say that in the CCC, but I modified it. I think it's a cool touch. Player A finished with a score of whatever this player A score is, and player B finished with a score of whatever player B is. Therefore, the winner is winner player. And I'm outputting, in the return, I'm outputting player A score, player B score, and winner string. So if I go ahead and call this function, which the function is called winner is, so if I go ahead and call up winner is, and what am I putting in here? I'm putting in roll results, and I'm putting in number of roles, and I actually want to print the return. So print, and put another thing right here. I'm gonna go ahead and run the playground. It says 89, 89. Forget about that because it's actually the numbers that it's returning. So it should return this thing right here, which is saying player A finished with a score of 89 and player B finished with a score of 89. Therefore, the winner is no one. It is a tie. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So that in this example, it's actually a tie. However, if I go ahead and change, for example, this thing, so this guy was losing here. Let's change something like this guy right here to a 6. Okay, and let's have a look at how the result is different. And 83, 89, player A finished with a score of 83 and player B finished with a score of 89. Therefore, the winner is player B. And of course, I could change this back to a 3, and I'll change this maybe to a 6, so this guy can win. And if we do that, it says 91-83. Player A finished with a score of 91, and player B finished with a score of 83. Therefore, the winner is player A, and so forth and so on. So that's pretty much the solution. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll keep making these videos if you guys like and subscribe and tell me that you guys like them. Like I said, if you found a better solution, feel free to go ahead and post it on the comments so we can all learn from each other. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.